Well, as we count down to kick off in Belgrade, I'm delighted to say that joining us on Football Pass is the West Ham United manager, David Moyes. David, lovely to talk to you. How excited are you about the prospect of this game and the possibility of what lies ahead for Scotland?
Very excited because it gives us a great chance to get to a final for, I don't know how long now, it feels like donkey years anyway, I know that.
22.
I'm a really big follower of Scotland, always was as a young boy, and as a young boy I used to go to Wembley with my dad, we went with my pals and we were in the World Cup. So for Scotland to get back into the finals of another competition would be great to see.
What were those experiences like, seeing Scotland in the big games as a supporter?
Oh, it was special when I was younger. There'll be many people of my generation will tell you about the years when we all used to go to Wembley, and we used to go in the coaches from Glasgow down, and we had a great time. We really did. And everybody will remember with the day we took the crossbar and all that away from Wembley. But maybe not for all the good reasons, but certainly they were the memories I've got. I was at many of those games. I was also at the game at Anfield when Joe Jordan got the goal when Scotland beat Wales. So I was at that game. I was actually in the Anfield Road end that night. I'd gone to the Scotland game there with a busload of people from Glasgow as well, because we were all really big Scotland supporters. And then later on, I went with my friends when the World Cup was in Italy. We drove to Italy, and we went round, and we were up in Girona and round the south of France when we were at the games when Scotland were playing. So over the years, I've had quite a big history of watching Scotland. So let's hope we get to these finals.
It was definitely a penalty at Anfield, wasn't it?
100%. Big Joe would even tell you that,
Listen, we'll gladly take that in Belgrade, that's for sure. David, what do you think that Steve Clarke has done to put Scotland where they are at the moment, with so close to a chance of qualification?
Well, I do think that Scotland have got some really good players, and I think the hardest thing was piecing it together and getting a team and nearly a club side out of it, which you can get a reliable performance. We might not always get sparkling performances, but can we get a reliable performance? Can we get a steady performance? I think we know we're trying to get better. We're trying to get a good side together. And I think he's done that, and it's given us a chance. Some of the results recently have been very good. I think there's been improved performances. And overall, I think Steve probably had an idea of what was needed to get it going, and thankfully he's done that.
Do you think that Scotland fans have been obsessed with being entertaining to watch, when perhaps those Archie Gemmill moments, the Jim Baxter keep-upping moments have been really pretty few and far between? It's not really necessarily been all about that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we look at, you look at how well, for example, Iceland have done, and I don't think theirs has been sparkling. I think theirs has been very tight, very hard to beat, compact, and doing a lot of things. But they've enjoyed it, great tournaments recently. They've had some great results. And I think Scotland, we're back to growing again and trying to get to the level of the past. I think there's a lot of work going into it already, but I think there's a lot more work to go into it in the future as well to get us back to those levels. But I think there's signs. I think we've got some good Scottish players. I think we've got some of them playing for the best clubs in the best league. And in years gone by, we used to have bundles of Scottish players who were always playing at the top level. We're not quite so fortunate to have so many now. But hopefully, the improvement in the national team. I just also think that we've just got to watch that we don't get our hopes and our expectations too high, because we are still trying to grow. And if we get there, it will be great.
Do you think the perception of Scottish players in England has been changing in the last couple of years, with Andrew Robertson and other players playing at the very top?
Yeah, I do. I think Andy Robertson's a great example of that, where he's had to work very hard, and he's come into the best club in England at the moment, and also probably the best team in the world, and has shown that he's as good a left back as MD. But we've got other Scottish boys who are doing well down here as well. There's other Scottish players who are making an impact. John McGinn's another one, for example, who's at Aston Villa. So there's been other boys, who are coming through and steadily improving. and playing a part in some of the teams down here.
I'm always fascinated by managers and their DNA. What do you think has contributed to Steve Clarke's build that's allowed him to develop into a national manager?
Well, I think Steve Clarke's always been renowned for being a good coach. He's had a chance to work under some extremely good managers, and he'll have picked up bits from it as well. He was an international player and was a very good player himself. So all those things added together have given him the opportunity to know what to do when he gets the big job. He'd done a great job at Kilmarnock, an incredible job at Kilmarnock. And in truth, that gave him the opportunity to manage Scotland. So if MD who's managing Scotland would have a problem, as we've seen, it's not been an easy job for MD, because trying to get the level of players to compete against the best players in other international teams has not been easy. But I think Steve's just beginning to get something which looks a bit more like a club side, an idea of the players. He's brought in boys from Aberdeen and boys from Hibs recently to play in the team, and they've all come in and done very well.
What do you think makes a successful Scottish team, David?
Well, I don't think there's any one element. I think we would always love to say it's our heart, it's our desire, where we love our country and we're committed to it. But it comes down to a lot more than that. We need to have good technical players. We need to have players of stature. We need to have players with speed. All these things now are very relevant in the modern game. And some of the things I've mentioned, we're not maybe in abundance with all those things. So we have to somehow get the best out of what we can. And I think, I wouldn't say it's the best, we could get the best out of what we can, but I would think Steve's pulled it together and tried to get the best he can and get them in positions. For example, we've got two great left backs in Kieran Tierney and obviously Andy Robertson. So trying to fit them in and get the situation in the team with them in an 11 is not an easy thing to do.
Back three has been his preferred setup at the back over the last few games. Why do you think that's been working for Scotland so successfully in these 8 unbeaten games?
Because it's been the best way to get in some of the best players. And Kieran Tierney's played as a sort of left centre back in a 3, who's very comfortable in a back 4 as a left back. Andy Robertson is very comfortable as a left back, but in fact his abilities going forward are so impressive that he looks as if he could be a wide left or a wide midfield player. So I think Steve's seen that. He's got them into the best positions. We've got Scott McTominay who can play in midfield, but because we've been a bit short of centre backs generally, he's seen, can he play at the back? Can he help us build better? So we've got, I think he's tried to get the team the best he can, try to fit in the best players, which isn't easy sometimes, and make the most of what he has.
What about this Serbia team? I don't want you to necessarily pour cold water on our qualification chances, but would it be fair to say this is the best team that Scotland will have played over this 8-game run? Yeah,
undoubtedly it will be. And I think you've got to remember how important it would be for the people of Serbia to make it as well. So it's not just us in Scotland who might feel that we're desperate to get to another big tournament, but I do think that they'll be feeling the same. They've got good players. They have, we played against Mitrovic this week, who for West Ham, who will be a real handful for them, dealing with them, the centre halves. They'll get some really talented young central defenders as well. So it'll be a really tough game for Scotland, and that's why partly I'm saying, look, I don't want to dampen it, but I think if we can get through, it'll be a great achievement. But it will be a tough game.
The World Cup and the Euros have managed to continue quite happily without Scotland since 1998. But do you think that if Scotland and the Scottish people get there to the Euros, it will add something to these tournaments?
Well, Scotland always add to the tournament because of the support. What's the support? Scottish support, over the years where they've been. And I think the biggest thing about the Scots is we're friendly. We want to go and enjoy ourselves. We want to have a good time. But we also got a chance to see in recent tournaments, how the Irish from both sides have enjoyed it. Iceland, their support was tremendous when they got to the Euros as well. So I think there's a growing band of countries who want to come out, want to enjoy themselves. The supporters want to enjoy themselves. And as we well know, the Scottish supporters have always been well behaved and looked after themselves when we're away. So let's hope we get a chance to do that again.